Hi everyone, it's been a long time since I posted anything. I think the last time we were working on the Studebaker, I was waiting on my mate Mike to come round and weld in this windscreen graft that he made for me. Mike's had some family problems and stuff like that, some issues, so the truck's on hold for the moment. So in the interim, I've gone back to work. Shoulder's all good now. So my old employer rehired me, so that's great. Been tinkering with a few little lawn mowers I've picked up off the side of the road, put out for hard waste. Rebuilt those, sold them for just a little profit. But yeah, the experience was good. Never rebuilt a lawnmower before. They come up really nice. So my next project that I've decided to work on, because my sister's having like this midlife crisis, and she decided that if she can't spend time with her hubby, she'll spend time with her brother. So we're going trail bike riding. I've just bought myself a new road bike, a Hunter Spider. I know it's in some other countries it's known as in Britain I think it's an AJS Spider, and I think it's a Raptor in the States. Johnny Paig, I think his name is, he does them up, puts bigger engines in them. Well, I just bought one of them. I haven't ridden on the road for 25 years, so I figured I didn't want anything big. I'm sick of seeing everybody on Harleys. You know, it's like everybody driving Mustangs in Australia now. There's nothing special about them, so I wanted something different. And I really, you know, my collection, you know, everything's different. So so I decided to pull this old trail bike out of the shed, which I've had since I was a teenager. This thing is basically the remnants of everything that I once owned or acquired. So I'll take you through it. It's partly disassembled. I should have started the video before I dismantled it, but anyway, here it is. This is actually a the frame, forks and front wheel, and swing arms are a 1976 YZ80D, which has had the frame modified here. So it used to be a twin tube that came down, that got chopped off. The engine is a CT110. So in Australia, our postmen tend to use these CT110s. Very popular engine. Had this thing sitting under, but it's been in numerous bikes, to be honest. Had it sitting under a tree for 4 years. Dropped it in this. I did clean the carby out, but didn't do anything else to the motor. Dropped it in this. I think within 3 kicks it started. Fantastic motor, bulletproof. So yeah, I made a few modifications and got that into this frame. Welded the YZ80D pegs onto my new frame. The tank and the seat. The tank is off a 1980 RM80, so it was the first of the high-rise tanks, but was still made out of metal or steel. It looks good on the bike. It actually looks good. The seat is off a RM370. Don't ask me what year, I couldn't tell you. But looking at the shape of it, it's got to be pre-82, because otherwise it would be a high-rise seat. So it's pre-82. It fits the bike nice. The back wheel, I have no idea what the back wheel was off. Had it given to me. I'd say it's off a European bike, because the spacing between the gear, the teeth on the sprockets were different. Wouldn't fit the Honda chain. So I needed to somehow get a Honda sprocket onto this back wheel. So all I did is the original, we'll call it European sprocket for now, because I don't know what it is. that used to taper out. It used to come out on a bit of an angle. So all I did is I reversed it, bolted that on, drilled some holes in it, and then bolted the CT110 sprocket to the old sprocket. So it actually looks like a 2-speed. Got plenty of clearance. It serves the purpose. I could have probably have cut that down and just used the centerpiece of it as a spacer or as an adapter, but I figured, you know, just leave it. But I have found another back wheel, and the reason I've gone looking for a back wheel is that this wheel never had any brake assembly in it. So I can't actually set up any brakes on it. I've always relied on the front brake, but I've picked up a back wheel off, I'm not sure what it is. It's a high-rise seat version, so it's probably going to be a late 80s Suzuki DS80 back wheel. Comes complete with the sprocket, the brake hub assembly, and the guy's going to throw the bar in that runs between the brake lever on the back wheel and the foot brake for $80. So I've grabbed that. What else? At the moment it's just got some aftermarket guards on it, which it's had on there for about 30 years. They're alright, they'll suit their purpose. I'm looking around to see if I can find a new set, but it's, you know, they've got to be reasonably priced. I'm thinking that because the guard here had to be cut down for the modification of the frame, I think a pit bike fender might actually work on this, because it is very short. And those pit bike fenders are worth nothing. I was having a look on eBay last night, and yeah, I was a little bit hesitant about it. I think it'll be okay with the reach here. I'm just worried about whether it's going to come out far enough at the front. I think it will, because this only comes out just past the halfway point of the wheel anyway. It doesn't come right out here. They never did back in those days. So I might be able to get away with a pit bike guard. So I'm going to send a message and ask for the dimensions of it. The back one is the same. There's an aftermarket guard. Bought at the same time. It all fits up. You know, this thing's a twin shock, being a D, YZ80D. I've had to run a battery, obviously, because the CT110 engine requires it. So that's all tucked up neatly in there, as you can see. But I'm gonna clean all this up, strip all the frame back. I'm gonna make a nice piece of, put a piece of aluminium plate in there, and actually box this in as a proper battery compartment, so it's not exposed to the weather. Now, what I've got coming for it, I've got a new, and yes, the front brake is on the left hand side, because the CT engines do not have a clutch. They're a centrifugal clutch. So I just kept the throttle on that side, and I put the front brake on this side, sort of balance it out. So yeah, I've got a whole new handle coming for this, because this was obviously snapped at one stage. I've got a new set of hand grips coming for it. I've got a new front plate coming for it. This was one that I just made up. It looks alright, but I've got a proper motocross one coming. They had a bit of a clearance sale, and I think I got it for $9.90 or something, free delivery. So I've got a new plate coming for that. What else? Oh, it's got a new tyre on the front, which I bought a couple of years back. Extremely hard to find. This one I had to actually, I ordered this on eBay, and this came down from Sydney to Victoria. God, don't ask me what size the rim is, but after the YZ80, it's a 16 inch. After the YZ80H, so from the J model up, I think they went to a 17 inch rim on the front. that's why I can't find 16-inch tyres for it. Now the DS, I shouldn't have any problems with the DS back wheel. Should still be able to get tyres for that, and the DS tyre is a bit wider than that. So I'll keep this as a spare. There's nothing wrong with it, so I'll keep that. What else can I tell you about it? Just little modifications. Being the CT motor, because it's step through, it used to, obviously the gear selector used to come all the way through here, so you could stomp on the front for your gears and then stomp on the back to bring gears down. I wanted it to look a little bit more motocrossy, so I just lopped that off the back, and that's okay. It works fine. I've got a little, what do they call them? Like a cone type air cleaner coming from Hong Kong, a whole $4 worth. So that will go on there. That'll look really, really nice. Now, I'll take you around here. I'm actually doing some paint stripping at the moment. I had the left-hand number plate cover for the bike, but I never had the right-hand number plate cover, side cover. I managed to find a guy in New South Wales that had parts for all the early Yamahas. This one I think is off an E, because 78 could be E, could be F, I'm not sure, but it's still the same, D, E, F, pretty much all the same. So I've ended up scoring that. I got, sounds a lot of money for a second-hand plastic, but I got it with delivery for $45. They're rare, you can't buy them. So people will tell me, oh, you can, there's places that do it, VMX and all these other places. I've tried, I couldn't find one. Or you've got to buy a whole plastic kit, but that's no good to me because this bike is made up of bits and pieces. So, you know, there's no good buying a new plastic set where I'm going to have to chop the back off the front guard and modify it. Okay, this is the tank. This is the 1980 RM80 metal tank. So I'm just in the process of paint stripping this. I've got a little ding in the top there. Just going to, I don't think I can get in to actually pop it out, so we'll just put a little bit of filler in that. I've just started stripping it. I've got the tap for it. There's a nut that should go between the two of them. Impossible to find. It's a 14mm. Been to all the motocross shops. Nobody makes one. Well, I shouldn't say nobody makes one. Nobody keeps one. There is a universal 14mm out there, but none of the shops want to order it in because if it doesn't fit, they're stuck with it and they can't return it, which I think is a lot of shit, because if it's your supplier, you usually can return it, provided that the packaging is still intact. So we could easily cut that and slip it out and try it, and then, you know, glue it back together and send it back. It wouldn't be a hassle. I just got to make sure I can screw it on. So the idea is, I'm going to see if I can do this for you, because this is going to be a very small picture. Majority of this is Yamaha and Suzuki, but I'm going to try and turn this, simply because it's got the Honda motor in it, I'm going to try and turn this into a Honda. And you just have to excuse me while I try and bring this picture up on my phone. The 1982 Honda XR100 is a really good looking bike, and I think with the seat set up and the high-rise tank that I've got, I might be able to get it looking very similar to this. We've got the rear shocks on it, we've got the high-rise tank, we've got the short seat. So I'm aiming to make this look like this. So I'm actually going to turn it into a Honda. So everything's going to be painted red. I'll go and get the Honda decals for the tank. Yeah, I'll have a go at it and see how it comes up. I think it will work. You know, it's it's spent its life as mostly a Yamaha, but with a Honda motor in it, we'll turn it into a Honda. So this is where we're at the moment. We're just in the dismantling stage. I'm just working on the tank and the two side covers for now. I've got a couple of little modifications I've got to do before I can take the motor and everything out. And I'll try and swing this around so you can see it. Let's have a look here. Okay. Now, we had to build... Well, I had to build an exhaust for this thing because the CT exhaust on it looked really crappy, right? So, and trust me, what I got on it now doesn't look much better, but once the side covers go on it, it shouldn't look too bad. Once it's had a coat of paint, it shouldn't look too bad. Okay, it is a bitzer, but yeah, it's rather than throw all the parts out, put it, you know, build a bike out of it. So, I've got the original outlet from the CT110 exhaust port down here, and it stopped there. So then we had to weld a piece on here, and then we've got this old classic PK Ripper exhaust. Now, where I stuffed up is the actual angle. Because I've never had a side cover for here, it didn't really matter where the exhaust sat. Now that I've got a side cover for it, I need this exhaust to basically sit up here near the seat. So I've got to raise this about, what's that, about 75 mil. I've got to get this exhaust straighter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat it up here a little bit around this area. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it at the moment. It's just going to be a little bit of trial and error, a little bit of push and pull, and see what I can do. And I'm going to try and, once I heat it up, I'm going to try bending the whole exhaust up so that the exhaust ends up sitting up here somewhere. So the outlet will be above the actual shocker itself. It'll be up here like it would have been on the YZ80D. So yeah, we'll get there. I'm actually going to make my own brake pedal for this. It doesn't matter what type of brake pedal I bought second hand, it probably wasn't going to work because of the shape of the CT engine. It's sort of got to drill a hole through there. The original hole for the YZ80D frame is there, so I've got that as a guide, so I can run the bolt through that holds the actual brake lever on. But I've been tinkering around here with some patterns, and although this looks, it looks rough, and it does, it looks rough. But once I actually cut something out proper, that's what we're going to be looking at. So I'll make a brake pedal for there, and that'll work fine. I probably could have modified the CT one, but we're talking about 25 years ago. I threw it out. So yeah, just unfortunate. I'll recover all the seat. I recovered this one myself the first time, but yeah, it's showing signs of age now, so I'll clean it up and get it looking good. Like originally I shaped it all here. I shaped the plastic here to go around the RM tank, and it looked really nice. It was a nice clean fit up against the RM tank. So yeah, we'll get all that happening. And this will be my sister's bike. This is going to be my sister's bike. She likes the fact that it's got no clutch. It's step through. She can touch the ground because she's smaller than me. She's not as tall as me. So yeah, she likes the fact she can just get on it hit the gear selector and off it goes. Doesn't have to worry about clutching. You know, just stomp on the thing to come down in gears. So I'm doing this up for her. I'm going to buy myself another, just a bush basher. You know, something not too fancy. I had the chance to buy a, what was it, an 82 XR100. The guy wanted $750 for it. This thing was rough. It was really, really rough. But the engine was incredible. I took it for he lived out in the bush. I took it for probably about a 4-kilometre ride, and it ran, and the gears changed like a brand new engine. The engine had been looked after. The bike itself hadn't been looked after. The guards were held together with strips of aluminium that had been riveted on, and it was just horrible. You know, the bash guard underneath the front of the engine was missing, and the muffler had holes in it. It was just a bush bike, but I wasn't going to spend $750 on that, because even to get it up to a standard that I'd be happy with, a safe standard, nah, I would have bought the motor and found another XR or XL to put the motor in, but nah, the guy was unrealistic, wasn't willing to budge on it, and it needed too much. So I'm still looking around for another trail bike for myself, so me and my sister can go riding on the weekends when I'm not skydiving or working on the truck. So yeah, I'll leave it here for now. I've been rambling on for 21 minutes, nearly 22 minutes, and I'll keep you updated with what goes on with the bike. Cheers! Okay, we got one of the side panels cleaned up. I was lucky enough that this one was actually left white over the years. Just had the black inlay there. You can see once the black paint's off how nice that comes up. Still got to clean the back side of it, but that's just soap and water, that's just grime. This had been painted white and then had some blue contact adhesive over the top. You can see the backs come up really, really nice. The original yellow that was on the D's. So we're going to strip the white off this now and get a nice clean finish on that too. We're making progress on the tank. So yeah, I'll get back to you shortly. Okay, that's the first scraping, so it's come up pretty good. Still working on the tank, we're getting there. The good thing with the tank was that there's so many layers of paint put on it over the years, it's actually helped protect it. I never painted it red, but at some stage after it came off the RM it got painted red, and then it got painted yellow again, and then when I got it, it got painted white. So yeah, it's and it's all, well, the white paint I put on it was an enamel, so and I put it on thick because it went on with a brush. I didn't spray it back then, didn't have a spray gun, so yeah, it's helped preserve it a little bit, which is good. Okay, I've just done one side of the fork. Haven't taken it off, but I will. I'll do it properly. But as you can see, I got all that white paint off the hub and off the fork. That's what the other side looked like. So yeah, it's going to come up nice. It's going to come up nice when it's finished. Okay, just finished sanding the tank. Stripped it and just used the third sheet sander on it. Just give it a bit of a sand over. Found a couple of little dents. Got a little dent there, and there's one just here on the side, one here, and one right there on that crown, and that's about it. Oh, there's one there that'll be seen. There's a couple here, but they won't be seen because the seat actually comes up to here. So, you know, I will repair them. If I'm doing the rest of that tank, I will repair that. But it's come up pretty good. Underneath, pretty clean. There's some some yellow, original yellow paint, I don't know if we can see it in the light in here, that won't come off. I can't get the third sheet sander in there to actually get in to sand it, but it should seal up all right. It's underneath, so it's pretty good. I've got a little repair to do here. I noticed many years ago I actually had some rust holes in here, and I had a plate put in this side here, which they did a good job with. It didn't leak. And this side, they dropped some silver solder on it, but it looks like there's a slight pinhole there. So I'm just going to grab the soldering iron, just heat that solder up and just melt it over that little tiny hole, just to make sure that we don't have any leaks. But so that's what we got so far, guys. We got 2 clean plates and side plates and a sanded down tank. I actually flushed this out with white vinegar. Had 2 litres of white vinegar in this for 2 days to get out all the rust and the scale, and it did a fantastic job. Then I filled it up with soapy water and switched it around and emptied it and left it out in the sun to dry. So the tank got hot and evaporated all the moisture inside. But I've just had a little bit of a look inside there. Not that you can see it. It still looks like there's a little bit of rust, and I think that might be just surface rust. There might have been a slight bit of moisture still trapped inside the tank. Didn't completely dry out. So yeah, what I'll do is I'll just run some clean vinegar through it again, let it soak for another 2 days, and make sure that all of the scale and all of the rust is outside the tank. And then what I'll do to seal it is I'll just put a little bit of petrol inside it, swish it round, not before I soldered it though, and hopefully the the oil in the petrol will preserve it. Methylated spirits is another thing I can throw in there. That's usually good for sucking up moisture. We always used to drop a cup of that in our bike fuel tanks, just to prevent any water getting in the fuel. So yeah, so we've made a start today. I'm pretty happy. I'm going to do a few little things on these plates. It looks like here, this bit here, that's probably going to break off, which I was right. It's going to break off. That's all right. It had melted slightly from the exhaust, but it hasn't made it thin. So I'll clean that up and I'll make that look good. I might try and plastic weld or use something in there just to fill that gap. And I've got a couple of little chips just out of the front there, so all I'll do is I'll just grab a file and I'll just file that down until those chips disappear, and you won't even know. So hardest thing was trying to get that 1978 YZ80 marker off the panel. I used everything and I couldn't get it off. Could get it off if I sand it, but again, that won't be, well, when it's painted it won't be seen, and even if it was left like that it wouldn't be seen because it's under the seat. So yeah, pretty happy. It's yeah, it's been a good couple of hours work. Okay, I just did that exhaust modification. I got my my torch over there and I heated up this lower part and put it in the vise and bent a kink in it. And as you can see, this bracket, I'm trying to do this one hand because I haven't got it bolted up to the engine. This bracket used to bolt up here where the number plate needed to go, and I've been able to raise it from there to there, so that would be about, that's a good 4 inches that I've been able to raise it. So now what I'll do is with this bracket, I'll weld that to the frame, and that will be its mounting point, and then it'll give this bracket back to the side panel, number plate panel, to bolt up to that, which is good. I have to weld a pin in here, so at least I've got one retainer on the top, because I do believe that white panel is off of YZ80E, and they obviously had two pins on this side where the YZ80D didn't. It looks like it had maybe one pin that broke off, and it fastened in that one spot down there. So the exhaust is sitting a lot straighter too. It's not dipping down, so it's really good. I've sort of put the side cover plate over it as well, and the exhaust tucks in really nice behind it. It doesn't bulge out, so it should be good. It's amazing. Just a little bit of a kink, a little bit of a pull out, and it's given me more clearance behind the exhaust, because before it was close and it was hitting the head. And what I did, this is before the days where I had all this sort of stuff like torches and welders and stuff, I bashed the back of it in for clearance so it wasn't hitting on the head. Now I've got absolutely shitloads of room. So yeah, it's going to be, that's a win-win. I'm wrapped about that. It's going to be really good, you know. So there you go. PK Ripper exhaust with a CT110 modification. It's not going to look out of place on there. I'll just put the seat down. There we go. So by the time the side cover goes on, it covers it pretty much up to here. You don't see any of the back part. So all you're seeing is the expansion chamber and this little bit of pipe down the bottom here. Once that's all painted black, no one's going to know any different. So yeah, it's all good.